Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Sports Zone.
Well, as the great Frank Sinatra once sang, start spreading the news. We're leaving today, and it can't come quick enough. New York has not been a very fun place for the Braves in this series. The Mets have been very rude hosts, and Atlanta tries to get out of town tonight with a series-salvaging victory. All year long, Braves baseball is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price, every day. We join you from Citi Field, where the Mets are suddenly resurgent. They try to complete a 4-game sweep, believe it or not, tonight against the visiting Braves. Hi again, friends. Joe and Chip back with you at the ballpark. Somehow, some way, partner, we got to find a way to take care of these Mets. They are awfully tough against Atlanta, not just this year, but the last couple of seasons head-to-head in the East.
Yeah, it goes beyond pesky. These guys play hard. And while the Braves swept the Mets back at Turner Field, the Mets have a chance to do the same thing right back at them and won better by winning tonight. 6-6 on the year. That's the way the matchup stands. You can see the Braves have a little better average. The Mets, believe it or not, have a better ERA, and they certainly have a better number when it comes to clutch hitting. For example, in this series, the Braves have up and down the lineup. They've got guys with 4 hits, 5 hits, even 6 hits in the first 3 games of this series, but no one in the lineup has more than 1 run scored. Hopefully tonight that can change and they can have some big innings against Bartolo Colon.
That would be a nice way to head to Chicago with a victory in the finale of this series. No victory for Justin Upton as far as the All-Star voting concerned, but I know you were very impressed, as was Justin, with the remarkable turnout and remarkable support for the Twitter and online campaign for the All-Star game.
It was a great effort on everybody's part. I know he was very appreciative of that and unfortunately came up a little bit short, but good for him to know how much Braves country cares about him.
And we hope he has a big night tonight as the Braves try to get out of town with a win in Game 4 of this series. When we come back, Tom Hart will join us, and he'll talk more about Game 4 and what's been up with this Braves offensive attack as we continue from Gotham right after this.
Time Sports South. Tonight, the Braves wrap up a 4-game series against the Mets from Citi Field. Tom Hart back in Flushing, Queens, as we get ready to end this series, and the Braves look for some more offense. It's not just when they get the offense, but certainly how they get the offense. And this roller coaster ride of a season continues. Following a 9-game win streak in which the Braves hit 3 home runs, they're now on a 4-game losing streak without any home runs. But when you compare the numbers, it may not be as different as you think. The biggest difference, obviously, hitting with runners in scoring position. Just 132 over this 4-game losing streak. But even deeper than that, advancing base runners. The Braves were 0 for 7 in RISP last night and just 4 for 14 in advancing base runners. Freddie Gonzalez says it's really simple. You don't need an abacus to figure out how to win and what leads to winning.
It's really simple. I mean, the math is really simple. You get opportunities, and when you get opportunities to score and you score, you got a chance to win. When you get opportunities to score and you don't score, you got a good chance to lose that game, or you lose 2-1. So I don't think I'm reinventing a wheel here or anything.
The good news, the Braves have been running to put men in scoring position and have had tremendous success against Travis d'Arnaud behind the plate for the Mets. We'll see if they stay aggressive in the early innings here tonight. You know who would love some run support? That would be Aaron Harang, as we got a battle of veterans tonight. Harang goes for the Braves, and Bartolo Colon will get some at-bats tonight. That's worth the price of admission.
New York. Game time temperature 79 degrees as we wrap up this series with the Mets. And game 4 features 2 of the game's bright young stars squaring off. Freddie Freeman for the Braves, David Wright for the Mets. And here's what they've done against their opposing ball clubs. That's our Home Depot tools from the dugout tonight.
They both inflict a lot of damage on their counterparts. And certainly Freddie Freeman, as we showed you in a graphic earlier in this series, kind of picking up where Chipper Jones left off with what Chipper used to do to these guys. But David Wright also doing a lot of damage to the Atlanta Braves. They got to figure out something on him to keep him off the bases.
That's something the Mets have not done to the Braves offense. Atlanta's racked up hits and walks. They've had base runners all over the place in this series, but they haven't been able to get the big hit in the first 3 games against New York. Freddie Gonzalez hopes this Toyota starting lineup will change that here in the series wrap-up. Freddie Freeman, of course, is the all-star. Justin Upton's had a good series at the plate, hitting .429 with a double. Christian Bethancourt back in behind the plate. Ramiro Pena gives Chris Johnson the night off at third base. And Aaron Harang, who had one of his best starts against the Mets this year, pitches and, of course, hits ninth.
41-year-old Bartolo Colon's on the mound for his 18th start. He's 5'11", 285. That's right, I said 285. His starts this season against the Braves, outstanding. 2 of them. He's only walked 1 in that stretch and 11 strikeouts in his 14 innings. His 4 keys to pitching success tonight. Well, the first inning has been a real problem for him. 16 earned runs in the first inning this season. That's an .847 clip. And his command, he doesn't walk many guys. In fact, only 17 walks in 113 innings so far this year for the big man.
B.J. Upton leads off for the Braves tonight again. And he swings through that pitch and has a count. B.J.'s had a good series at the plate. 5 hits and 14 tries. He's knocked in a run. His average climbing slowly. It's at 217 now. He's looking for just the 2nd hit all year by men leading off the game against Bartolo Colon.
Yeah, that's something weird with those horrible numbers in the first inning, an 8.5 ERA. He's given up 9 first inning runs in his last 4 starts. First batters of the game are 1 for 16. So he's getting the first guy, and then the roof caves in on him.
Fouled straight back by B.J. It's still 2 balls, 2 strikes. There really doesn't seem to be much mystery about the repertoire of Bartolo Colon.
No, and his fastball is 86 to 93. That last pitch, 92. He just has good command on both sides of the plate, a good changeup and a slider. Try to put a little on, take a little off.
There's plenty of movement. He struck out Upton looking. Leadoff man in the ball game, now 1 for 17 against Colon.
And that's his favorite pitch. He loves to do this to left-handers. This time he does it to the back door to a right-hander. A 2-seamer that backs up to the outside corner, framed beautifully by d'Arnaud, and he gets the call.
So Andrelton Simmons bats with the bases empty. Andrelton 2 for 14 in the series. Tim Timmons raises the right hand with a called for a strike. Simmons to the right side, and Murphy couldn't get it. He's upset it himself. That ball trickled under the glove, and Simmons has a 1-out single.
I think Murphy thought that he could get to that without diving. He thought he was going to get the glove to it and keep his feet so that he could get the out. It came up empty. There's that fastball running back to Andrelton, and just under the glove of the Mets All-Star.
Freddie Freeman's on-base streak ended at 26 games last night. Let's see if he can start a new one here in Game 4.
Cannot give up on that pitch tonight. It's okay early in the count, but for the lefties, you got to be ready for it if you've got 2 strikes on you, because that's where he'll go to try to get you out.
Freeman's killed the Mets this year. He's knocked in 12 runs against them, and he hammers this ball down the right field line and fair. Around second, heading for third is Simmons. They're going to green light it. He's going to come around, and he's going to score standing up. Freddie Freeman puts the Braves in front with a rocket to right.
Misplayed out there by Curtis Granderson. he couldn't quite get there to cut it off, so he was going to play it off the fence, and then when it came off the fence, it bounced past him, and he had to chase it just for a brief moment, and that gave Andrelton more time. That was a high pitch that Freddie leveled off on. Here's Granderson deciding not to try to cut it off, but to play it off the fence, and that cost him. And Andrelton able to score standing up.
50th RBI for Freeman. And the Braves have jumped in front of Bartolo Colon. Here's Justin Upton.
Colon's last start came against the Rangers, and the Mets bullpen was real beat up. And he gave up, I think it was 4 runs in the first inning. But he hung in there, and he pitched 7 innings and got beat 5-3. But he really did the Mets a service by continuing to plug away despite the early runs and give them some innings.
But as we talked about, it's a reread of the script. He gets the first guy out, and he gives up a couple of hits in the game's first run. And now Upton with 50 RBIs. Tries to chase home Freddie Freeman here in the first. One ball, 2 strikes.
Both of these pitchers tonight, the big boys, have 8 wins, both going for their 9th win. There's about a half a run difference in their ERA. Colon's is higher than Parang's, but they've both been around the block a time or two.
There's that fastball again. And Upton took it. Second looking strikeout for Colon in the first inning.
It's good enough and located it well enough that, again, he's a guy who's around the plate. You're going to get a pitch to hit. You just got to be ready to jump on the one you might get that's a good one, like Freddie did.
Second at bat of the night for the Braves with a runner in scoring position. Jason Hayward will try to provide a 2-out hit. And out of play, strike 1. Aaron Harang's a former Met. Made a handful of starts with New York last year. He's got a lead before he's thrown a pitch. We'll see how big the lead is after Hayward's at bat.
I kind of figure runs are going to be at a premium tonight because of the way these two guys have pitched against one another. Colon, 14 innings against the Braves, had given up 3 runs total until now.
Hayward, a little flare into shallow left. That's going to drop. Freeman around third. He's going to try to score. Throw the plate. Close. Late. d'Arnaud tried to deke Freeman, but Freddie slides in ahead of the throw, and Hayward with a blue pit makes it 2-0.
Thing of beauty. You know, when the Braves were in their winning streak and they were putting up some pretty impressive numbers hitting with runners in scoring position, there were a few bloops in there and a few flares. Well, here's another one. Maybe that's a good sign. Better than hit one hard at somebody. And I'm surprised Eric Young was able to make this close because he had to change his route to get to the ball on the spin. d'Arnaud tried to block the plate a little bit after he caught the ball, and I think he paid for it too when Freddie came in so hard. He dropped that knee down and was flexing it a little bit.
Mets can't lose him, as hot as he's been at the plate. With a good try to make the play at the plate. But Freeman slides in safely, and it's 2-0 for Tommy La Stella. Base running by Jason Hayward. He took second on the throw. He's in scoring position. And out of play play for Tommy, who earns our Georgia lottery, hitting the jackpot honors.
He's on a good run. His last 6 games, 10 hits. The only thing that doesn't translate to are runs scored. There's 2, but none in this series. I was watching him take batting practice today, and he was very impressive. Line drives all over the ballpark.
See a line drive to right center field. They give him a big gap there and down the right field line too. But it's not to be.
There's that pitch.
Malone strikes out 3 Braves in the first inning, but also gives up 3 hits and the first 2 runs for Aaron Harang. Mets. Another RBI hit. Jason Hayward has one too, and the Braves have scored 2 in the top of the first inning. Terry Collins and the Mets resurgent. They're only 8 games off the division lead. They have a 6-6 record against Atlanta, and they got a big lift from their catcher Travis d'Arnaud last night. A back-breaking homer off Irvin Santana as the Mets won Game 3 of the series by a 4-1 final score.
And Terry going back to the pitcher batting 8th tonight with Eric Young in the lineup against Aaron Harang, who's 3-0 over his last 3 starts. That covers 21 innings, 5 walks, 10 strikeouts in that stretch. And this year against the Mets, 1-1 with an 0.69 ERA. It's hard to be 1-1 when you've only given up 1 run to a team, but that's the case. And remember, he had a 7-inning no-hit outing against the Mets here earlier this year. His keys to the ball game we'll get to right after the first pitch to Mr. Granderson.
He's hit 3 leadoff homers this year, so be very careful with Curtis Granderson, who's up to 14 homers now and a .237 batting average.
Here are the keys for Aaron Harang. Number 1, bender. He's got to have a good hook tonight. He has had the last 3 starts. Breathing room, well, he's already gotten some of that too. 2 runs to work with. That's something that's been hard to come by for Brave starters in this series.
Fly ball to center. B.J. Upton will make the play. There's out number 1. Granderson's retired. We've talked about all the problems that Bartolo Colon has had in the first inning. First inning offense is not a problem for the Mets. They have scored 62 runs this year in the opening inning. Nice to see Aaron keep that number at 62 tonight. Shutdown inning, keep momentum in the Braves dugout. .111 hits this year for Daniel Murphy, 5 of them in this series. He's been a tough out for Aaron Harang in his career.
Yeah, 6 for 17 with a homer. Several guys have good numbers against Aaron. It's just a matter of how good his breaking ball is tonight, and if he can get these guys to swing early in the count. The night that he threw the 7 innings and no-hit ball, he also walked 6 batters.
So that was the attempt at the A.J. Burnett no-hit.
Yes.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Plenty of shamrocks in the stands for Mr. Murphy. Ground ball right side. La Stella flags that one down and makes the play at first. 2 out.
Mentioned that Aaron has won 3 in a row. A win tonight would be his first 4-game winning streak since April of 2011 when he was with San Diego. 8-6 on the year, a 3.67 ERA.
Who would have thought, as you pointed out, and rightly so, that on July 10th, Aaron Harang would be tied for the team lead in wins.
I didn't have that written down.
Both he and Teheran have 8. But he has been a godsend for the Braves this year. And he's behind David Wright. 1 ball, no strikes.
Here's another guy that's had good success against him, a 400+ average against Aaron with a homer.
Look at where La Stella was playing. And look at him handle that hot shot on a short hop.
That'll have Wright talking to himself.
Tommy La Stella is having a big series before friends and family in New York. And Aaron Harang and the Braves maintain a 2-run lead after 1. Again, we use the boxing analogy with tongue firmly in cheek. You'll see why in our Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light.
It is a heavyweight battle, to say the least. What'd you say before the game started? The mound might be only about 8 inches high by the time it's over.
Bring in some extra dirt.
Yes.
Time for the series with the Marlins.
These guys have been around.
Braves jump on Cologne for 2 in the first. And a line drive by Christian Bethancourt is headed for the left field corner. Eric Young Jr. cuts it off and holds Christian to a long single. That gives him a 5-game hitting streak.
I think he's only failed to get a hit in 1 start since he came to the big leagues. Now that's that 2-seamer that backed up right to the middle of the plate. And Christian didn't miss it.
Ramiro Pena gets the start tonight. Break for Chris Johnson with a quick turnaround and a day game tomorrow in Chicago.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have a day game here today.
To try to bunt.
Not a bad idea.
Well, if you're trying to bunt because you think Bartolo Colon can't move that 5'11", 280-pound frame, don't be fooled. He is a very agile defensive pitcher.
People made that mistake against Livan Hernandez, thinking that with his size he couldn't move, and he could get around to field his position real well.
Popped up out of play over the Braves dugout, and Pena will face another 1-2 pitch. We'll keep you updated on all the important scores around the big leagues tonight, most notably the Nationals and Orioles. They continue play in Baltimore tonight. Washington is trailing early 1-0 to the Orioles. Tapper foul. It's still 1-2. Cubs beat the Reds 6-4 today. Anthony Rizzo was added to the All-Star team as the fan vote. Phillies swept Milwaukee 9-1 the final. That was a 4-game sweep for the Phillies.
Well, it brought the Cardinals right up next to the Brewers now. The Brewers have lost 5 in a row and then start a weekend series with the Cardinals in Milwaukee tomorrow.
1-2 pitch is poked into center field. Pena with the second hit in a row for Atlanta in the second inning, and now Harang a chance to bunt.
And just some good solid defensive hitting behind in the count. Had it covered. You see Darno actually going to one knee, getting ready to block the ball if necessary. And that is the definition of a Ric Flair right there.
Atlanta with 5 hits already against Cologne in the game. Aaron can handle the bat. 6 sacrifices, as you see.
Wants to make the third baseman field it.
Cologne made that pitch with Ruben Tejada breaking back behind Bethancourt at second base, expecting a pickoff throw.
And it may have distracted Harang enough that he decided to pull the bat back, even though it was a good pitch to bunt.
He did it again.
Usually the pitcher, when he sees him break, will at least step off if he's not intending to make a throw, or give him time to get back to his position. But now with 2 strikes, let's see if Aaron's still bunting.
the flight pattern tonight. Orang butted right through it. Now they've got Bethancourt in a rundown. David Wright will chase him back towards second, and the tag applied. So Orang couldn't get the bunt down, and after he butted through the ball, Bethancourt wandered too far off second base. That's a double play.
He slipped trying to go back. His feet went out from under him. I think he would have been able to get back to second base, but when he tried to plant his right foot, he just skidded. Right there. At least stayed in the rundown long enough to get Pena into scoring position, but a double play and turns the whole inning around.
So runner at second, 2 outs after 2 are on and nobody out. 2-6, 5-6 the scoring on the rundown play. And now B.J. Upton's the batter. He struck out looking in the first. 2-0 Atlanta. Both runs came in the opening inning. Popped up. David Wright over near the Braves dugout. Takes a peek and runs out of room. Speaking of Ric Flair, looked like Chris Johnson was ready to come over the top.
He did.
Wipe him out. Broken bat, little pop, shallow center, but that's going to be caught by Juan Lagares. Promising inning. Bears no fruit for Atlanta. Still a 2-0 game here in the shadows of LaGuardia Airport. Best gather in Minnesota as the captain Derek Jeter takes the field for his last All-Star game in what should be an emotional and unforgettable night. Special coverage starts at 4:30 on Fox Sports 1, followed by the 2014 All-Star game at 7:30 on Fox. Good start for the Braves tonight. 2 in the first against Bartolo Colon. Had a chance for a few more in the second, but a strikeout and a slip on the base paths led to a premature end to the second inning. Here in the home half, Duda, d'Arnaud, and Lagares are coming up for the Mets. Duda's had a good series. He's knocked in a couple of runs. He's 4 for 7 against the Braves here in New York. That caught a corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Duda's riding a hot streak for New York. He's reached base in 15 of his last 16 games. Hitting .346 in that span. Single RBIs in each of the last 2 games of the series. And Harang just tied him up. Pretty pitch.
Good pitch.
For his first strikeout of the night.
Took a while for Betancourt to get to that pitch going through the signs. But good to see that they're not going through any kind of series of signs with no one on base. I'm not sure what that was. It almost looked like a cutter. Could have been a change. Kind of talking about it in the dugout too.
Yeah, I think Duda's asking that question himself. Here's d'Arnaud. This young man's riding a 5-game hitting streak. Big home run here last night. 3-run 7th. Ground ball toward third. Pena's got it. The throw to first gets the catcher by a step. 2 out. 3 groundouts, 1 flyout, 1 strikeout so far for Harang. And now Lagares will be the hitter.
I mentioned the walks that he issued in that game where he had 7 innings of no-hit ball. Aaron has kind of walked a tightrope against the Mets. Again, only 1 run allowed, but he's walked 10 and struck out 14 in 13 innings coming in.
This series notwithstanding, teams have been able to do that to the Mets. They're a club that has struggled with runners at second and third base all year. Fly ball deep left center field. That ball is going to bounce off the base of the fence. And Lagares got some extension and drove 1 to the gap. He doubles with 2 outs. That's the first New York hit tonight.
Good description, Chip. He did get this one out front. That looked like a change-up and split the outfielders. The more I watch him play, the more I like him. Outstanding defender in center field. Just missed hitting that out. Now they will change the signs.
RBIs for Tejada. He's 3 for 10 in the series, including a game-winning RBI in the extra inning game here. No swing, no ball, no strikes.
Pitchers on deck. It's not batting ninth. Got a base open. Threw him a couple of breaking balls to see if he'd chase. No reason to give in.
So well off the plate now. The count 3 balls, no strikes.
Just don't make a mistake here. And pitching him away, don't get greedy after you get the called strike and think you can maybe come inside and break his bat. Just be careful.
Caught a corner. So from 3-0 to a full count now.
There's that bender. When he can locate it like that, he's awfully tough.
Nice catch. And he lost him. Still no harm done. Pitcher up next. 2 on, 2 out.
Yeah, sometimes in your greed to want the pitcher to lead off the next inning, you can make too good a pitch there and it costs you a run. Some smart pitching on the part of Harang.
So a night Colon will never forget. First time in his big league career he's hitting 8th.
And we've seen him take some very healthy cuts. So much so that his helmet flies off.
Huh?
Batting gloves just blow off his hands. I'd like to say that swung so hard he popped some buttons on his shirt, but I think that was from another reason.
Hey, he made some contact. Bethencourt wishes he hadn't.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of Christian.
Way high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Harris at second, Tejada at first. And Colon is down on strikes. Bookend strikeouts for Aaron Harang in a scoreless second for the New York offense. Braves trying to add to a 2-run lead after 2. jumped on Bartolo Colon with 2 in the opening inning. Time for tonight's Academy Sports and Outdoors Leaderboard.
You know what's frustrating about that? It's great to see, but it's not translating to runs on this road trip. And while a 289 mark is certainly something to work from and outstanding, the Braves just have not been able to parlay hits together and get runs in this series until tonight. And they did that in the first inning when they put 3 together for 2 runs.
And this is a Braves offense that's built to hit home runs. They have not been hitting home runs. So that means all those little offensive things that they were doing have to be done if they're going to put together any kind of an offensive attack. When they don't do those things and they don't hit home runs, well, the results are rather predictable. Not going to score many. Happened last night to Atlanta. The Braves, the base runners all over the place, couldn't come up with a big hit and scored only 1 run. Andrelton Simmons singled and scored his first time up, and now he'll roll one up the middle. So Simmons is 2 for 2.
The Braves had 13 hits 2 nights ago, but didn't score until the 8th and 9th innings. With a good start to his night after an 0 for last night.
The leadoff man on for the 2nd inning in a row for the Braves. Now Freddie Freeman bats. He doubled home Simmons and later scored in the first. And he smacks one into center field. Simmons around second. Lagares bobbles the ball, but Andrelton was on his way to third anyway. And Atlanta's got runners at the corners with nobody out again.
Got 2 hits in a row to start the inning. Last inning, but a strike him out, pick off, kind of ended any threat there. Now with the heart of the order coming up, they've got a chance to really put some distance between themselves and the Mets.
Justin took a called 3rd strike in the first inning tonight. It's a little late there. Strike 1. To short. Tejada will step on the bag and throw to first in time. That will bring home Simmons for Atlanta. No RBI for Justin Upton, who's doubled up, but the Braves extend their lead 3-0.
And that's where the good hustle of Andrelton Simmons pays off. He had third base in mind from the very moment he left first base on the base hit by Freddie Freeman. And by getting to third base, he scores on that play to add a run. You don't have to be a real fast base runner. You don't have to be a fast runner to be a good base runner.
This guy's both. Jason Hayward. He's fast and he's a great base runner. He has an RBI hit tonight. Ball one strike. Hayward pops one to shallow left. Young is there and makes the play. Braves add a third run. Andrelton Simmons has scored 2 of the 3 Braves tally so far tonight. Here at Citi Field in New York. Braves 3, Mets nothing. Game 4 of our series tonight. And it is a pretty night. 79 degrees at first pitch. Braves head to Chicago for a weekend set with the Cubs after tonight's play. It's trivia time. Our AT&T Uverse trivia question: since 2009, who's the only player in baseball with a higher batting average against the Mets than Freddie Freeman's 321 mark, and there's a minimum of 200 plate appearances?
Well, that'll help us narrow it down to maybe 200 players.
Well, it's early. It's only the 3rd inning. We've got time to think about tonight's answer. 9-1-2 for the Mets, but 9 is not the pitcher. It's Eric Young Jr. The Mets really have 2 leadoff men coming up back-to-back fashion. Young with his speed, and Granderson, who's the number 1 hitter, due next. And deep short and through for Eric Young. A leadoff single. So trouble afoot for Harang here in the 3rd. Young is a threat to run. The Mets have stolen 62 bases this year. Young has 22 of them alone.
Aaron threw him a nice get-over curveball to start the at-bat for a strike. It looked like he got a fastball that he was able to slap the other way. And anytime he's on, he can wreak havoc if you don't hold him close.
He's going. Bethancourt's throw is too high. Simmons tried to swipe as Young slid by, but no chance. It's a stolen base.
Christian got a good pitch to throw on too, but it took off on him, and then Andrelton tried to get him on the head as he went by, but couldn't.
What a great leap replay. You saw Simmons with the leaping swipe try. He actually started to apply the tag between his legs as Young went sliding by. He is so acrobatic at the bag. Simmons. And Granderson bats and has an even count. While the Braves have been struggling to hit homers, in fact, they have one of them in their last 10 games. That's not the case for the Mets. They've homered in 9 straight games and have 23 homers in their last 21 played. And one reason why is the man at the plate, Curtis Granderson. Granderson's hit 4 homers in the last 8 New York games. Blocked by Bethancourt, 2-2.
Freddie Gonzalez is talking about Christian Bethancourt's work behind the plate, and he said he's been very impressive. Already known for his glove work, but he said he's been doing a great job in the absence of Evan Gattis.
Fly ball toward left. Justin's got it, and no advance by Young. Granderson flies out, 1 away. Yeah, we can't understate the impact of Evan Gattis' absence on this Braves ballpark. He's second on the team in homers. He's got 39 RBIs and was hitting .290 at the time of that back problem. Gattis said his back is feeling better. He's able to catch now, do some light jogging. It's hoped he'll be able to start playing some games during the All-Star break. And he will be welcomed when he comes back. Here's Murphy, runner at second. And he'll ground it out his first time up. Oh, a short hop. Bethancourt snagged that.
And he's awfully quick. I thought that bounced back near Murphy's back foot. Not so. That was out in front of the plate.
One ball, no strikes. Far too many injured catchers in the major leagues. How about the Cardinals losing Yadier Molina? Torn thumb ligament. He's going to have surgery. He's out 8 to 12 weeks for St. Louis.
I'd like to know if he did it on a head-first slide.
From what I've read, no.
Okay.
He did not. He apparently went in feet first at third base for the Cardinals.
Threw his hand down to kind of brace his slide. I'm guessing.
So the Cardinals might jump into the trade market and look for a catcher. Dangerous pitch here to Murphy, 3-0.
Especially with when you think you've got a base open, but David Wright on deck. That's not a best case scenario.
And he walked him on 4 pitches. First and second, 1 out. Here is Wright. Braves had him played perfectly right up the middle, and David smoked the ball right at Tommy La Stella, who threw him out to end the first inning. Wright represents the tying run with 1 out.
Remember, LaStella had him played way up the middle, and now in a double play situation, he can still be in that same vicinity as a guy who is bird dogging Eric Young to try to keep him close, not allowing him to get a good jump if he wanted to try and steal third.
Right swung at ball 2. Ryan will take that break. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That was pretty much the pitch that Santana was getting right to Chase last night.
And he chased it again. Would he dare throw it 3 times in a row?
Why not? Just throw it a little bit farther away. That one never had the plate. But you've got to make it coming out of your hand appear to be a strike for them to offer, but might get him to go even more outside.
Simmons can't knock that one down. It's into left field. Right puts the Mets on the board with an RBI single. His 44th RBI.
Nope, not the same pitch. It was supposed to be out, and he left it in the middle of the plate. We saw Betancourt move the target outside, but while it was down, it was right in the center of the plate. And David Wright, who we showed you earlier, does a lot of damage against Atlanta pitching. Does it again.
So a 4-game hitting streak for the Mets third baseman. Eric Young Jr. batting 9th. Singles, steals, and scores. And now Lucas Duda's the hitter with a chance to prolong the inning. Duda struck out to start the second. Toward left, but Upton is there. Justin hauls that in. Duda's retired, 2 outs. Darno bounced out to third his first time up. Slow roller. Pena gloves and guns to first in time, and Harang a nice job of minimizing the damage. The Mets cash in a leadoff single and a David Wright hit to make it a 3-1 game after 3.
Fourth inning in Braves country. Well, you gave it a valiant effort. A bunch of tweeting fools, including myself, we nearly got Justin up there, upped into the National League All-Star team. In fact, the tweets today were the most of anybody, but he just couldn't catch up with Anthony Rizzo and the lead that he had built earlier in the week through the other online voting. So the two guys headed to the All-Star game from the National League. It's Rizzo, whose offensive numbers compare favorably to Justin's, and Chris Sale, deservedly going from the White Sox. He has had a tremendous first half. Nearly 53 million votes cast. Not as many as last year, guys. Freddie Freeman got nearly 20 million on his own. But, Chip, I wanted to go back a moment to one of your tweets, which was a topic of conversation in the Braves clubhouse today, when you tweeted that the head-first slide has to be the dumbest play in baseball. David Carpenter read that out loud. We all thought about it for a minute. Craig Kimbrell chimed in. He said, nope, 3-0 pitch out.
Well, that's true, I guess. As a bunt single for Tommy La Stella. A surprise party there for the Atlanta offense, and a good start to the Atlanta inning.
This is about as perfect as it gets right here. He waited almost like a sacrifice, and because the third baseman's back, if you just make sure it's a base hit or foul, automatic. That's Brett Butler like right there.
So Tommy's only 43 behind Gerald Laird, team lead. He's aboard to start the inning. Here's Bethancourt. He's singled back in the second. Braves are racking up their hits against Cologne. That's 8 of them already in the game. And a ball high. Christian single gave him a 5-game streak. He'll take that into Chicago tomorrow.
Let's see how Christian approaches this at bat. Let's see if he has in mind to try to take advantage of the hole on the right side, maybe go the other way.
Hit and run. Fouled it off.
Certainly in a hit and run. That's what you want to do, and he was trying to do that. We've talked about the inconsistent struggles of the offense, Chip, and stretches they go into where maybe they're getting on base like they have been, but can't get key hits. Well, one of the factors I don't think we talk about enough is that on average, this is the youngest team in the National League. Only Houston is younger in Major League Baseball. So there's a lot of inexperience on the field, a lot of talent. There's also a lot of guys that don't have many at bats. And I even would include Andrelton Simmons in that category. We want to think of him as a guy who's been in the big leagues for a long time, and he really hasn't. And he didn't have that many minor league at bats. And he's been moved into the 2 spot. There are a lot of things you can do there, a lot of responsibilities, but the fact remains, in many ways, he's very inexperienced there.
We talked to a lot of scouts. We talked to a lot of managers, general managers all around Major League Baseball. Something that I have heard a lot the last 5-6 years. One area in which the game has changed dramatically from the time even when you played was how much, if you will, remedial teaching goes on at the big league level. You're always teaching, but there's still so much fundamental teaching going on at this level. For the point you made, the quest for talent is such that you can play at all. You're here very, very quickly. A shot toward right. Granderson near the line is going to get there. And he makes the play for the first out. Bethancourt tried to hit the ball right and did.
Good at bat.
But hit it in the air.
Good at bat. And you're right. There's a drastic difference in the last decade or two in that you got to the big leagues, you were expected to know how to play. You were expected to know what to do in every situation because you probably have been through it 100 times in the minor leagues. And nothing should come as a surprise to you. And that's not the case anymore. You're exactly right. Guys are getting here a lot faster. And in many cases, learning on the job.
Pena bats. He's got a single tonight. takes outside, 1 ball and strike. So yeah, the speed of the learning curve might be the most important stat that you really can't measure other than individual performance. And his, I think it's safe to say, has been very quick.
Yes, it has. He's adapted nicely.
Little line drive into shallow right center field. That's going to drop. And the Braves have him at the corners again. Pena's 2 for 2. La Stella's at third base. And now Aaron Harang will come up with 1 man out.
Another hit and run. Put it in play. You want to try and put the ball in play on the ground, but that worked just fine. And you could tell it was a hit and run because La Stella made sure he went to the plate before he broke, and then he was taking a look over his shoulder at the point of contact to make sure he wasn't going to run into a fly ball double play. Good job by Pena.
So let's see what the Braves have cooking here. First and third, 1 out. Bunted foul behind the plate, strike 1.
This might be a good time to take it off. Take the bunt off. I mean, you showed bunt, you tried to bunt, you couldn't. Take it off here and hope that he gets a fastball from Colon that he might be able to hit a fly ball on or get a base hit. The outfield very shallow for him.
That was fouled at the plate. Now Aaron, 0-2.
Ken, I know we were talking about this at the halfway point, you know, at roughly 82 games, 81 games, about, you know, how would we rate the starting pitching, the relief pitching, all those things.
Right.
If I could go back and revisit the bunting.
Yes.
Good grief.
He was swinging with 2 strikes and didn't get it. So twice tonight, Aaron has not been able to get a bunt down. He has struck out for the second time, and he returns to B.J. Upton with 2 on and 2 out. Going back to our earlier conversation, pitchers in the minor leagues 15 years ago, they had to know how to bunt.
I wouldn't give him a letter grade. I'd just say it's pathetic because it has been so awful.
And again, when your team is struggling to score runs, when your team's not hitting home runs, and you're in a lot of tight games, plays like that, even with a 3-1 lead, that's a big play in this game.
Well, it's my 23rd year of doing Braves baseball, and I can honestly say that's the first time I've ever used the word pathetic or awful to describe anything about the Atlanta Braves. But their bunting leaves a lot to be desired.
No balls and a strike. Didn't get that. Now Colon is a strike away from new life. Still a manageable game from the Mets' perspective. The Braves trying to tack on a couple more here. This is the way Colon pitched in his last game. He gave up some runs early and then battled through 7 innings against Texas. And B.J. swings and misses. Bartolo Colon pitched out of a big mess. The Braves strand 2 more men and lead 3-1 in the 4th. 2. And all season long, Braves baseball is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. Let's check in again with Tom Hart before the Mets come up to face Harang once again tonight.
All right, Chip, thanks. You guys were talking about Christian Bethancourt and Evan Gattis behind the plate for these Braves. It still remains to be seen how soon Evan can be back, but a couple things to note of that. First of all, they're still trying to see if the injury is exactly the rhomboid or the bulging disc. They'll find out more as time progresses. But when he does return, Freddie Gonzalez made it clear he's returning to catch. There are no other positions in Evan Gattis's near future, and when he returns and he's healthy enough, he will play, and he will be playing on a regular basis.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, we've heard him say that, Tom, and it stands to reason, because it's also important for Christian to keep playing,
right,
and not sit.
The Braves have an embarrassment of riches behind the plate if you think about it. Gattis, Bethancourt, Gerald Laird, and Ryan Doman could catch if need be. Too many teams that can say that.
A couple of teams out there right now. You mentioned the Cardinals as one of them that are catching poor right now. They got to figure out something.
Juan Lagares, the hitter, quickly down 2 strikes. From the Cardinals' perspective, I think losing Molina, he's their most irreplaceable player. Middle of the order bat. As the pitching staff shuts down the running game, clubhouse leader, and he's out 8 to 12 weeks. And that really hurts the Cardinals, who are making a charge at the All-Star break. They're trying to catch Milwaukee. Brewers lost again today. If the Cardinals beat the Pirates, they'll only be a game out of first place. Popped up. Hayward calls off Tommy La Stella, and good communication. There's the first out. Join millions of players now on the only official Home Run Derby mobile game from MLB.com. Square off against your friends from around the world, live in multiplayer derby mode, and climb to the top of the leaderboards. Download today for free on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Did you ever play Home Run Derby with wiffle balls?
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun.
Awesome.
Had to hit it on the roof of the house. Sometimes it'd roll into the gutter, and you had to figure out a way to climb up there and get it out of the gutter.
Did you ever have a mean neighbor?
Oh. The grass guy?
You hit it over Mr. Smith's yard, and you're terrified to go over there and get the wiffle ball. Dogs are barking. He's staring from behind the curtains, just waiting for you to come over and yell at you.
You're just tiptoeing into the grass, hoping not to leave a footprint.
Yep. The worst was when you, like you just said, when you hit it into the neighbor's gutter and you had to go knock on the door and explain what happened. And ask them to climb on their own roof to get your wiffle ball. That was the only wiffle ball you had, right? You only had one.
Sorry?
You only had one wiffle ball. I only had one
with
our game.
Yeah.
I think you had a crack in it, you'd find.
Well, I might have one, and my neighbor friend might have one, so we might have more than one.
Right.
Because he was equipped.
Another pop. Simmons drifts out. He says he's got it, and he does. That takes care of Tejada for the second out. That was a terrible feeling. Game stops, you got to get the wiffle ball, or when you hit the ball so hard, as I know you did, when you actually crack the wiffle ball, break it.
That was me.
All right, here's Bartolo. He struck out swinging his first time up. It's an amazing stat on Bartolo Colon in the Mets notes. Did they appeal that?
Well, I think he called it a strike.
Yeah. It was called a strike.
Tim Timmons was trying to get Christian's attention, let him know you don't have to appeal. Already called it a strike. Oh, well, does.
Just got to wave the bat.
Yeah, he's probably taking, but he just let the bat go. That was funny.
May not have time for the stat I want to give you about Colon. Well, he put it in play. Bouncing ball to short, in between Hop. And Simmons will take care of Bartolo Colon. 3 up, 3 down for Aaron Harang. Good ball game tonight. Atlanta leading 3-1. (3-1) Atlanta. We are through 4 tonight. The Braves have piled up 9 hits against Bartolo Colon, who had a very unique approach in his last at bat.
Well, you can understand why Christian, the pitch is off the plate and he was kind of taking, but a late call by Tim Timmons, because he's like, well, it wasn't a strike, but you kind of made that weird swing.
Bartolo's, I swung at that. That was funny.
That was funny.
So Simmons leads off for the Braves. He's got a 2-for-2 game tonight. And he scored 2 of the 3 Braves runs. High fly toward left. Young goes back onto the warning track, and he'll make the catch a couple of steps shy of the fence.
Braves have had a bunch of those in this series.
Yes, they have. And Wrigley, that's a home run, and that's where we'll head next. Now it's time for you to tweet your photos using hashtag SouthFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown in an upcoming broadcast. That's brought to you by AT&T. That's another way the game's changed. The old days, kids were keeping score.
There's a ball game going on, girls. Yeah, right. At least the girl on the left's got her glove on.
And fouled away by Freeman. No balls, 2 strikes.
Huh, I bet they're texting each other. That is the life of a 11 or 12-year-old girl these days, isn't it?
You bet. That's 7 strikeouts for Colon, as Freeman chased one up and away, and quickly 2 are out. Justin's 0 for 2. He is struck out and he's hit into a double play. Double play ball brought home a run, however, and the Braves third. Broken bat, David Wright. Fields and fires in time, and it's 3 up, 3 down for Colon, his first easy inning of the night. Tommy La Stella's having a fine series before friends and family here in New York.
How about this play? Nice short hop scoop. Played David Wright perfectly in the first inning to rob him of a hit. Showing you some good hands. Our Zaxby's indescribably good play. Along with this, a beautiful bunt down the third base line. Pushed it perfectly. An easy hit for him.
So Aaron Harang's gotten plenty of help tonight. Got 3 runs and 9 hits of support. He's gotten good work defensively, and now he's got the 9-1 and 2 hitters up in the New York 5th. This was the group that played at the lone New York run back in the 3rd inning. Big swinging strike. Young a bunt, but right back to the base of the mound, and Aaron Harang makes short work of EY. 1 down.
I couldn't tell for sure, but it almost looked like he changed his mind in which direction he wanted to bunt it. And as a result, put down a 4 bunt. Like he wanted to go to third, and when the ball came in on him, he was trying to change it.
A strike to Curtis Granderson. He's 0 for 2, a couple of flyouts.
Terry Collins says he's going to leave him in the leadoff spot, and no reason not to. He's got about 270 leading off, and when you think about how bad his average was at the beginning of the year, for him to be hitting this well in this position in the order, leave him alone. He's positioned himself with a good comeback to have a real good second half.
perfect world, is he hitting in the middle of the lineup here?
I think they probably wanted him to, but didn't work out.
Listella, a couple of steps to his right, gets there and makes the peg. 2 outs. And that way, I guess you could say the Mets and Braves are somewhat similar. They don't have a true prototypical leadoff guy, although Eric Young could do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't hit enough or get on base enough to play every day.
Not the way Granderson has been. And as Terry Collins said, I like looking up there after he leads off a game and being ahead 1-0 too. That's been pretty nice.
Settling in now. Set down 7 straight Mets. He's walked Murphy and he's gotten him on a ground ball to second. And upstairs 2 balls, no strikes. Baltimore leads Washington 4-1 now in the top of the 6th at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. How about the Orioles? They lead the AL East. That one up the middle. Listella trying to knock it down with his feet on a sliding attempt, but he couldn't get there, and Murphy extends his hitting streak with a 2-out single.
The only way to prevent that hit was if Aaron Harang made the play. Too far to go for Listella, who had him played over in the hole a little bit. Aaron couldn't get his glove over his left leg because it's kind of anchored.
So David Wright will hit, and he represents the tying run. Wright has the Mets RBI tonight. He also hit a ball right to Tommy Listella up the middle to end the first. He's had good success early in the count with David Wright last time up, breaking balls away from him. The pattern continues.
On our PNC pitch tracks, pretty good pitch. Didn't get the call.
Tried again and missed.
Well, his breaking ball has been good enough that he can throw it here and either get Wright to chase it or throw it for a strike. And they're going to stay with the fastball. Pretty obvious they're trying to pitch him away, and you saw the defensive alignment as Gary Lehman was showing us the outfield alignment. B.J. Upton playing him over toward right field. Pitch him away, play him away. Now B.J. with the count 3-1 is going to move over more to a pull spot.
And Wright walks with 2 outs. Murphy to second. Lucas Duda the hitter. Duda has struck out and flied out.
He's been real good though the last 2 weeks. He's been good in this series. And unlike Granderson, they need him to have a good second half as well, just to provide some protection for David Wright.
Good breaking ball gets Duda behind 0-1.
Boy, nice pitch. This was a very slow curve. Good location, good delivery, and that he certainly disguised it well.
Tried another one, but it was too far off the plate. So Aaron would like action here. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now the runners will be moving with a 3-2 count.
He's made 2 good pitches with the breaking ball. One a called strike, one a swing. Does he try it again? When the runners are moving.
Murphy at second, Wright at first.
Been his best pitch tonight.
There they go, and it missed outside. A single and back-to-back walks with 2 out, and now the bases are loaded.
And the 2 walks this inning give him 14 walks in 18 innings against the Mets this year. But he's only given up 3 runs total to them in 3 starts.
That's what I was going to say. This reminds you of the start that he had here when he took the no-hit bid deep into the game, but had all those walks. He's got 4 of them tonight. He had 6 on April 18th. That was the second start Harang made against New York.
And let me correct that. It's only 2 runs he's allowed.
So he's been walking a very narrow tightrope. He's got a 2-run lead. He's got 3 Mets aboard. He's got 2 outs in the 5th. And a hot-hitting Travis d'Arnaud in the batter's box. That number gives you hope that Harang can get out of this.
This guy's got 3 homers and 10 RBIs in his last 13 games. Came back red hot from AAA. Got ahead of him. That's so huge in a bases loaded situation. But he got ahead of Duda too and couldn't put him away.
He's tried to shave corners and he's just missing.
Yeah, to be on the same page here. Make sure you're on the same page as your catcher. You don't want to cross him up with a runner at third.
Bouncer foul. So now Aaron's 1 strike away from escaping a bases loaded mess with 2 outs.
Well, he missed on the 3-2 pitch to Duda with the breaking ball. So I don't think he wants to go 3-2 and then try the curveball again. So this might be the spot for it. But instead of throwing it right over the top, kind of sweep it away from him. Make him try and reach for it, chase it.
Fly ball center. Upton drifts back. He's got it, and Harang's out of trouble. The Mets load the bases with 2 outs, but cannot break through, and Harang leads by 2 heading to the 6th. Trying to scratch out a win in the fourth and final game of this big series with the Mets. Every time you play within the division, it's a big series, and rivalry week is almost here. The Braves will face the Phillies and Marlins after the All-Star festivities, Friday, July 18th through the 24th. Hope you'll join us at the ballpark to support the Braves as they try to win the East in back-to-back fashion. Go to Braves.com/tickets for more information.
Phillies just completed a 4-game sweep in Milwaukee, so they may be coming to life.
Phillies are 10 under 500, 41 and 51. Jonathan Papelbon raised some eyebrows after the game yesterday. He was asked, hey, if Phillies had a chance to move you to a contender, would you consider going? He said, yeah. And he further continued the conversation by saying, look, if you're a competitor and you're playing in the major leagues, why wouldn't you want to go somewhere where you have a chance to win?
Good old Papelbon with you, win or tie.
Yep.
Nobody's out of it, in my opinion, in the division. Phillies have played awful. They're better than a 41 and 51 team.
There's some whispers, too, that Cliff Lee might be back and face the Braves in that first game back from the All-Star break on Friday night. That's not official. That's not been announced, but it's possible. And the Phillies also have brought up Grady Sizemore. And they signed him after he was turned loose.
There's a story written, too, that some speculation, I'm sure, that wondering if a move to the outfield would save some wear and tear on Chase Utley's knees.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Hayward pops one up again. Left side, Tejada drifts out. Young comes in, and he's there. And Jason's out number 1. Well, it's no secret the Phillies outfield has had a horrible time this year. Dominic Brown, big disappointment. Ben Revere hasn't been what they'd hoped as a leadoff hitter. Marlon Byrd is doing pretty good work for them, especially lately. So Sizemore, the first guy that they're going to try to jumpstart their attack out there.
Well, with Milwaukee, remember what John Smoltz said the other day about first place ball clubs, that the week before the break, the week after the break are 2 vital weeks of the season for first place ball clubs, because you can have a tendency, if you've got a nice lead, to kind of coast to the break, or you might have trouble cranking it up again. Might be a little lazy getting going after the break, after you've had some days off, and that certainly is evident right now for Milwaukee.
Well, Estella drives one deep center. Lagares going back is going to get there. He's pretty smooth out there in center.
You're not kidding. I'll tell you what, this kid is fun to watch. Tommy La Stella, though, just put another good swing on the ball. He is so quick. His bat is so quick. He has a great ability to wait before reacting because his hands are so good. And I thought that one had a chance to get over Lagares' head. Not so.
2 quick outs now for Bethencourt. Christian's 1 for 2. 2 in the first for the Braves. They added a 3rd run in the 3rd. That's answered with their lone tally in the home half of the 3rd inning tonight. Aaron Harang has had base runners all over the place, but he stranded 7 Mets through 5 innings. And now the 6, 7, 8 hitters up in the bottom of this inning. 8th place hitter, Bartolo Colon, the pitcher.
And knowing that, can't be certain, of course, but maybe that's what Aaron and Roger McDowell were looking at in terms of a scouting report on who's on their bench that might pinch hit for Colon, so he could be ready if one of those guys comes up next inning or this inning.
Mets have 2 left-handed pinch hitters available. They have 3 right-handed pinch hitters available. First time tonight, Bartolo Colon has a 3-ball count on a Braves hitter. That pitch popped back toward us.
Well, that was one of his keys, his command. He throws strikes, and as I said, you know when you go up there, you're probably going to get at least one good pitch to hit. Doesn't matter what you do with it when you do get it.
Little pop behind first. Duda drifts back and gets there on the outfield grass to retire the side. 8 up, 8 down for Bartolo Colon. He's due up third when the Mets come up here in the 6th. On for the team lead in wins this year. He leads after 5 by a 3-1 score. And let's take a look at tonight's SunTrust shining moment.
Let's go back to April 18th right here in this ballpark. He was dealing. A couple of strikeouts, another David Wright chase on a breaking ball. 7 innings, no hits or runs, 6 walks, 5 strikeouts. And why didn't he throw a no-hitter? Well, he'd thrown about 180 pitches at that point with all those walks. So it was kind of a mutual decision combined between he and Freddie that he was pretty much toast. Braves went on to win that game 6-0.
Well, he'll make his 90th pitch here to Juan Lagares, who has a double and is also popped out to right. A roller toward Pena at third. This is a big ballpark, but Aaron Harang tonight has done an excellent job of getting the ball on the ground against these Mets hitters.
Well, I was talking on that fly ball 2 innings ago, and Anderson Simmons back Eric Young right up to the wall and straightaway left. The Braves have hit about 4 or 5 of those in this series already that just were within 5 or 6 feet of going out of the ballpark. Abreu made a great catch on a ball right into the wall last night.
Tejada swings at the first pitch, and Hayward will track that one down. This is just what Aaron Harang needs. 2 quick outs. Multi-platinum group Weezer will perform in the Braves Summer Concert Series Tuesday, August 12th. That's presented by Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines. Stay after the game for a free concert. Limited VIP field passes are available for the show for just $20. Act fast. Go to Braves.com/concerts today. So no pinch hitter. The Mets will continue on with Bartolo Colon.
He has 2 hits. I wonder if either one of them have been at home where the fans could go crazy. Because a while ago when he made contact and grounded to short, they were going nuts. Maybe because they just wanted to watch him run to first.
Well, he's in danger of striking out again. Colon has struck out in 20 of his 36 at bats this year. Oh, and he skies this one toward left, and Justin Upton is there, and that retires the side. Bartolo Colon's job is to pitch, not hit, and he's down 2 after 6. Beautiful night in New York. As we promised you earlier, we have our AT&T fan photo of the game ready. Tweet your photo to hashtag #SouthFanPhoto for a chance to be shown in an upcoming game broadcast. That's brought to you by AT&T.
Another Brandon Phillips, but not the one that plays for the Reds. And their cat made the picture. We get a lot of dogs. We don't get many cats.
Can cats wear hats?
No.
No?
No. Cats hate hats. Hate them.
I didn't know that. Yeah, Brandon Phillips looks like his thumb ligament's just fine, too.
I think so, yeah.
Well, the Reds have had a horrible week. Votto's on the DL. Brandon Phillips got hurt. Homer Bailey had to leave his start today with a bad knee. Cincinnati has been playing good baseball. They're trying to chase down Milwaukee, too. Good night so far for Pena at the plate. Romero 2 for 2, and a spot start for Chris Johnson at third base.
Been a very valuable utility player for the Braves over the last 2 years. A shame he got hurt last season. Or his throwing arm or his throwing shoulder. His dad and grandfather, I believe, were both ball players too in Mexico. So he had some good coaches.
And he got to play with Derek Jeter. Talk about a great coach.
Romero's pretty big in this town in his own right. Word has it he taught Derek a thing or two.
80 pitches for Bartolo Colon, 62 strikes. He's losing the game. Fly ball left center. Lagares had him shaded perfectly, and he gets there easily. That's 9 up, 9 down for Bartolo Colon. And Aaron Harang will come up with the bases empty. Baltimore 4, Washington 3 now in the 7th inning at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Gio Gonzalez started that game for the Nationals. He had a 22-inning scoreless streak come to an end tonight. That's not the longest scoreless streak on the line in baseball. Clayton Kershaw takes his 36th inning run to the mound at Dodger Stadium against San Diego tonight. Rang to right. Anderson's got that. 2 down.
That would be a good team to try to extend it against their lack of offense.
There's an amazing number of statistics about Kershaw's streak online at ESPN.com today. During this streak, there have been 17 hitters face Clayton Kershaw with a runner in scoring position. Not a single one of them has hit the ball out of the infield against him. And only 3 hitters have gotten to third base during the scoreless streak.
That's even more impressive.
He's finished 129 hitters. So Kershaw goes to work for the Dodgers later. Fly ball to right again, and Granderson couldn't get there. So B.J. Upton with a 2-out single. He's 1 for 4. And that'll bring Simmons to the plate.
That really fooled Granderson off the bat. Slicing, but he took a route that was straight to the foul line, didn't come in at all because it fooled him. He thought it was deeper. When he started to come in, it was too late. Here's where Andrelton was talking about his inexperience earlier. This is where he's got to be patient. There's 2 out. Give BJ a chance to run. Ow.
In stereo.
Yeah. You dude it, at least catch the throw. But don't be in a big hurry if you're Andrelton. I think it was the 11th inning the other night, extra inning game. BJ got on a 2 out. He had a huge lead. It was pretty obvious that he was putting some pressure on him, like he might go. And then Andrelton took a big home run cut and popped up on the first pitch. Never gave BJ a chance to go.
A rare miss by Colon. Up and in, 1 ball, no strikes. In the air to center. Lagares drifts back, and he'll get there to retire the side. Colon's retired 11 of the last 12 Braves he has faced, and we have reached the 7th inning stretch in Game 4 in New York.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Atlanta Braves and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Atlanta Braves.
Deck feature. We will join you tomorrow afternoon at the corner of Clark and Addison, historic Wrigley Field. Holy cow, it's the Braves and it's the Cubs. Our lone visit to Chicago and our last stop before the All-Star break. And here's what's up with the Cubs up to the minute.
Got swept against the Braves earlier this year. Didn't score much, as you see, but they did win today. Slowed down a hot Cincinnati ball club, although the Reds are beginning to look like a mash unit. Cubs, of course, just this week completing that huge deal where they traded away their top two starters, Samardzija and Hamill.
Braves beat the Cubs all three times they faced them in Atlanta, May 9th, 10th, and 11th, winning 3-2, 2-0, and 5-2.
Big inning here for Aaron.
And gets another ground ball. Estella, quick release, gets EY, one down.
Big out right there to get this inning started. Got two leadoff guys to start the inning and then the heart of their order, so he is able to get Eric Young. Big out as he approaches the end of the line for his start here in the 7th at 99 pitches.
Shea Simmons gets ready in the Braves bullpen. That'll be the first in relief, it appears, tonight. Anderson takes a miss low and outside. 1-0. Straight away center. Well, Upton a few steps to his right, and he's got it. 2 out.
Both pitchers are doing a good job of getting the guys, when they do square it up, to hit it to the deepest part of the ballpark.
Carlos Torres is up in the New York bullpen. I've seen enough of that guy for one season. He's awfully tough.
No kidding.
So Daniel Murphy, the Mets All-Star, is 1 for 2, a single and a walk. Knee-high strike. Ripped to right. But Hayward's going to get there, and Aaron Harang breezes through the home 7. He's retired 7 straight, and he leads 3-1. first of 1-run, 4-hit baseball. And he is in line to take over the team lead in wins. This would be his 9th victory of the season.
Pitched around the walks. He made some pitches not to give in to hitters in the 5th inning to both Murphy and Wright. Or excuse me, Wright and Duda with a runner on base. Bases loaded. Then he got a fly ball to end the inning. The walks didn't hurt him.
Blown back out there for the Mets in the 8th. Big difference tonight. As we told you, Bartolo has first inning trouble. 2 early runs were allowed in the first. An RBI double by Freddie Freeman, an RBI single by Jason Hayward. And the Mets offense hasn't been able to catch up since. This is Freddie Freeman's 66th career game against the Mets. He's knocked in 56 runs.
Goodness.
He's hit 13 home runs against New York, and he scored 40 times.
If that first inning continues to be a problem for Bartolo Colon, he's going to have to adjust his pregame eating cycle. He's going to have to figure out maybe a better menu.
Straight up and straight away center. Lagares will drift back, and he's got room, and he's out number 1. I wonder if the Mets, and maybe it's a long shot, but I wonder if they'd consider moving Bartolo Colon at the deadline. Here he is. He's trailing in the ball game, but he's gone 7 1/3 innings with 90 pitches.
I don't know why you wouldn't consider it. Have to be the right return.
He's got another year left on his contract here in New York. I'm not sure what the dollar figure is.
I want to say about 10.
10?
I think so.
In this day and age, for a guy that can do what he can do, that's downright reasonable.
I like watching him pitch. Got to admit, he's fun to watch. Has fun. Loves what he's doing.
Again to center. And again Lagares will get there. I mean, this is a man who's 40 years old. He's a 3-time All-Star. He's won a Cy Young Award.
And he's only 3 wins away from 200 in his career. He's 197 and 135 as a sub-4 career ERA.
He's pitched in the playoffs with the Cleveland Indians. I wouldn't presume to speak for Sandy Alderson, the Mets general manager, but I would think that with the big stable of young pitching they think they're going to have next year, they might be able to flip Colon and get some offense. Get some outfield help for this club.
Well, think about how valuable he was when he got traded from Cleveland to Montreal. And the talent that came back to Cleveland in that deal, including Grady Sizemore. And I want to say Brandon Phillips was in that deal too.
Cliff Lee.
Yeah.
Lee Stevens. That's exactly right. It was in 2002 when the Expos, you think about all the talent the Expos had. All the terrific young players that they were able to sign and draft and develop. The Expos traded Cliff Lee, Lee Stevens, Brandon Phillips, and Grady Sizemore for pitcher Tim Drew and Bartolo Colon. Chopped off the plate. And a flip to first, and Colon back to the batting leg. That's an infield hit. Terry Collins might consider a challenge here.
I think that's why Colon was hanging around the back for a long time. And sure enough, a real tweener in terms of whether or not Duda flips it or takes it to the bag himself. I don't know if the old adage of tie goes to the runner, that may be what we have here. Maybe not. Better view here. Sorry, Jason. It looks like he got his foot down first.
Now think about it. I know that there's the number was what 43% of calls had been overturned at one point this season. I don't know the percentage of them that were plays just like that. Even with 3 or 4 looks on replay, we can't tell.
Yeah, and it's got to be convincing evidence to overturn it. I'm not sure that. Yeah, we just saw a replay on the big screen. That pretty much showed his foot get down first. There. And he is out.
So the call is overturned. Clear and convincing evidence that Colon was able to beat Jason Hayward to the first base bag. That ends the 8th. It's still 3-1 Atlanta.
Toyota, and AT&T, mobilizing your world.
Well, again, with all due respect to Frank Sinatra, I have no desire to wake up in the city that doesn't sleep tomorrow. On we go to Chicago. As the Braves try to salvage the finale of this 4-game series. Before we tell you who's on the mound for Atlanta, let's revisit our AT&T U-verse trivia question. Since 2009, who's the only player in baseball with a higher average against the Mets than Freddie Freeman's .321 career mark?
Again, it could be one of 1,000. I'm going to say Chase Utley.
Plays the Mets a lot. Good hitter. Oh, man. Troy Tulowitzki. Omar Infante.
And on we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning,
where Jordan Walden pitches for the 30th time. 3, 4, 5 hitters up for New York.
Jordan Walden pitched in the first game of this series. Just a third of an inning, however, got a strikeout. Craig Kimbrell has not pitched since July 4th.
Walden in relief of Aaron Harang, who went 7 innings of 4-hit, 1-run baseball tonight. And Wright pops one down the right field line. Long run, Freeman and Hayward, no play. It's in the seats. Wright 1 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. Thank you, Joe, against Walden in his career.
Yeah. How about that breaker? Got him to duck, get out of the way. Steve Reich.
Backed it up but missed. Full count. Don't want any walks late. Lots of thunder in this Mets lineup. That's exactly what we get. Leadoff walk. And here's Duda. Lucas 0 for 2 with a walk. With that walk, Duda reached base for the 16th time in his last 17 games. He's thinking about serious damage here. He's got 13 homers. He's knocked in 46.
It was only the second walk for Walden in his last 6 outings, at least 6 outings. Oh, that good change. Boy, that's a beauty. He gets so much motion. He throws so hard. And it's just not there.
Disappeared too.
Just don't hit into a lot of double plays. This is a guy who doesn't hit into many as well. Only 5. He's a guy who's a fly ball hitter.
Bethancourt knocked it down and squared it away, and David Wright wisely held on to risk getting thrown out in this situation.
Exactly right. Tie game. Maybe if the Mets had the lead, he'd have taken off. Elevate it a little bit, see if he can go up the ladder on it. He's a better low ball hitter.
Another breaking ball, and Duda missed it by plenty.
Well, he didn't even foul tip any of them.
No.
He was so far out in front of every one of those swings. Perfect slider to the back of the plate. Outstanding job there.
Travis d'Arnaud is the Mets catcher.
He's a double play candidate. He's hit into 8 of them and 178 at bats coming into play tonight.
What a stop. Holy smokes. How in the world did Bethancourt snag that one?
Not easy when a guy's throwing a jillion miles an hour. It bounces that far out in front of home plate. You got a little lucky too.
That's foul at third.
I love watching Ramiro Pena get ready for a pitch. And he's guarding the line right now. That's why he was able to be all over that foul ball. Boy, he gets low and he has got the glove out. He is ready for anything that comes his way. Obvious that he's thinking about what am I going to do with the ball if it's hit to me, and I'm ready if it is.
Wide, just out of reach of Simmons at short.
Fastball had a little tailing action on it, came back to d'Arnaud a little bit. He's beginning to be more and more impressive. The reports on d'Arnaud, no matter which team he was with as he was being traded around, that he could hit and he would be able to hit in the big leagues. And as much as he scuffled at the beginning of the year, kind of like Granderson, they weren't afraid to send him back to Las Vegas to work on some things, and he's come back ready to go.
So New York has an 8th inning threat. 2 on, 1 out. Craig Kimbrel has gotten up in the 8th.
You would figure he would be available for a 4-out save tonight if needed, given how much rest he's had.
Freddie Gonzalez has said there will be some opportunities where Kimbrel's going to have to do that.
I saw them talking during batting practice over here in front of the Braves dugout. Freddie called Craig over, and I wondered at the time if he just didn't say something like, you know, no matter what tonight, you're going to get some work.
Because there is a carryover effect. Obviously, not working, you worry about rust. Then you have the series with the Cubs where you hope he's busy. Then you have the All-Star festivities. Don't know if he'll pitch in that game. That's 4 more days where Kimbrel might be idle. And then back at home for the Phillies a week from Friday. So a little heavier workload for Kimbrel and the rest of the Braves. This wouldn't be a bad thing. Right at second after a walk. d'Arnaud singled after Duda struck out. Tying runs aboard in the New York 8th. Popped up. Freeman gives chase. On to the warning track, and he's got it. Lagares pops out in foul ground. 2 on, 2 out. So the Mets will go to their bench, and Neuenhuis will be announced. He's going to bat for Ruben Tejada. And Freddie Gonzalez has the lineup card, and he'll head out and chat with Tim Timmons. So Jordan Walden faces 4 hitters. He retires 2 of them. He'll leave after a walk and a single. And Kimbrel is going to come on and try to complete a 4-out save for the Braves next. Jordan Walden departs with a couple of runners aboard for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th inning. Couple of changes for the Braves now. Jordan Schaefer checks in for Justin Upton. Jordan is in left field. And Craig Kimbrell is the man on the mound for the Braves. Kirk Neuenhuis will be the Mets pinch hitter.
And what will be evident right away for Craig after this layoff is fastball command. Sometimes he's so wound up, comes into a tight game, and he's so fresh that flies open a little bit. That fastball is a little high and into the right-handed batter's box. Let's see how it is here as he works to Neuenhuis, who's never faced him before.
First pitch missed out and away to Kirk Neuenhuis. Kirk's done a good job off the bench for the Mets. He's 5 for 13 as a pinch hitter with an RBI. Bobby Abreu waits on deck. He got a corner. At the knees, inner half.
Neuenhuis didn't like that. Our PNC Bank pitch tracks wasn't at the target, but it was in the zone.
So from 2-0 to 2-2. Now the runners will move with the pitch.
Again, feeling good, fresh, rested, and overthrowing a little bit. But the 2 strike calls were on good pitches that were down.
Right at second, Darno at first. They move. The pitch is tapped down the first base line, foul.
Neuenhuis took a swing at that like he was beaten. Like, that's all I can do at this pitch is just try to stick my bat out there. He's not taking a stride as much as he's just trying to get his foot down real early so that he gives his hands a chance to work and catch up. Smart on his part.
Swing and a miss. Kimbrell got him after falling behind 2-0. New York strands 2 more in the 8th, and we head to the 9th. 3-1 Atlanta the lead.
Good fastball, slider, and a split.
And he is durable. He leads all major league relievers with 57 innings.
Best pitch is his cutter, and he loves to throw it.
It's been a happy homecoming for Tommy La Stella personally. The results for the Braves as a team weren't what he hoped they would be, but man, he put on a show in front of friends and family members. He's 5 for 15 against the Mets here in New York. Made all the plays at second too. And he rips one that's caught by Duda with a snow cone. Wow.
I know there's going to be days, there's probably going to be a stretch where Tommy La Stella is scuffling, like a little bit like we saw when he was leading off. But I tell you what, with his quick bat, they won't be long stretches. Man, oh man, is he quick.
But as a hitter, that's cold comfort, isn't it? Smoke a ball, but you're still out. Three good at bats for La Stella tonight. As Bethancourt hits, he's got a 1-for-3 game.
This season, I had the truck look up what the Braves are against Torres, and including that rocket that La Stella just hit and was snow coned by Duda, the team is 3 for 34 against Torres. That's an .088 average.
Foul. They're in the 9th inning in Baltimore. Orioles 4, Nationals 3. If that score holds and our score holds, the Braves will again be tied in the division. Count.
An insurance run wouldn't hurt, would it?
No, it would not. There's some thunder coming up for New York in the 9th. Bethancourt first, then Pena. And a fly ball into left center field. Shallowly hit. Lagares gets there. And there's the second out. Late night for us tonight, but we will be back at it tomorrow afternoon. First pitch at 4:05 Eastern Time. 3-day games at the corner of Clark and Addison. We hope you'll join us for Braves Live at 3:30 from Wrigley Field. Alex Wood will get the ball for the Braves. Jake Arrieta will pitch for the Cubs. Cubs beat the Reds 6-4. Game in Cincinnati today. With a good breaking ball. Strike one.
That's just kind of a get over pitch for him. Nice way to start a hitter, though, and get that over. Aaron Harang did that several times tonight with that slow curve.
That's upstairs for Ramiro. 2 balls and a strike. We're in Chicago. The Mets will host the Marlins for 3 games. Little tapper is a foul ball. Darno trying to steal that out, but it spun backwards just enough to be ruled foul. And it's 3-2. Bring up that Mets Marlins series, and it's great we have the shot of Darno because on Saturday here the Montreal Expos fan club is going to be having a huge gathering of fans here to try to draw interest for getting a team back in Montreal, if you can believe that.
That's interesting. They'll come here.
Expos Days, I think they're calling it, on Saturday. Pena is going to reach with a 2-out walk.
Maybe that's why there's going to be a Huey Lewis in the News concert Saturday here. All ties together.
Je ne sais pas.
It's a Huey.
Yeah. So the top of the inning lengthens a bit for Craig Kimbrell. He'll, of course, come out for the bottom of the 9th inning. A little insurance, as Joe said, would be welcome as Jordan Schaefer gets in at bat here. Eddie Gonzalez was quoted before the game today saying he hasn't used his bench as liberally as he would like the last few games, but he's been able to use it quite a bit tonight as Schaefer lines out to send this game to the bottom of the 9th inning. Campbell, Young, and Granderson are coming up. It's 3-1 Braves in New York. Break. Then it's rivalry week at the ballpark. The Braves will battle the Phillies and Marlins Friday, July 18th through the 24th. Come on out to the ballpark. Support your Braves as they take on their division rivals from Philadelphia and Miami. Get your tickets online tonight at Braves.com. And it's not going to be Eric Campbell for New York. The pitcher spot was kept in the 8th hole, so it's going to be Bobby Abreu pinch hitting for Carlos Torres here. So it'll be Abreu, Young, and Granderson in a 2-run game.
And those 3 guys are 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts in their career against Craig Kimbrell.
something got loose on the warning track. B.J. Upton over with a helping hand. Steve, right one to Abreu. In case you wondered how many times Craig Kimbrell has had a save of more than one inning, the answer is he has 3 of them in his career, including one this season.
We had a graphic on that when he was approaching Smoltz's record. I think John had 35 of them.
Chris Young on deck. Abreu quickly behind 0-2, and it takes on. They're trying to chase down his 28th save. Tonight, tied with Trevor Rosenthal and K-Rod of the Brewers with 27. That's most in the Big League Baseball. To short. And Abreu is retired for out number 1. So here's Young. Not Eric, but Chris.
That's different.
One Young for another, huh?
Yeah, well, different marks against Craig Kimbrell in his career. 2 for 3 with a homer. A couple of walks, too.
It's a final in Baltimore. The Orioles did beat Washington tonight. So that's good news. 4-3 at Orioles Park. Down the left field line.
He got around on that 96 heater.
Two strikes.
In location, too, riding up and in on him. As quick as he was on the one he pulled foul, there's really very little chance he could catch up to that one. I don't think it was a strike.
To center and right at B.J. Upton. He puts that in his back pocket. 2 out. Here's Granderson. Curtis 0 for 4 tonight. 3 flyouts. Right there, a strike.
He's kind of settled in this inning after the rest and coming in a tight spot and being amped up. He's calmed down. Yeah.
So Craig way ahead, 0-2. Fly ball, shallow left center, and BJ's got it, and the Braves have beaten the Mets tonight. Aaron Harang is your team leader in wins. Craig Kimbrell is your major league leader in saves, and the Braves are back into a first place tie with the Nationals in the East after snapping their 4-game losing streak tonight. 3-1 your final score from New York. Joe and I are back to Citi Field to recap it for you right after this.